Hello, it's Duncan. Last week we looked at how we can use Loom virtual threads to enable thousands of simultaneous connections to a Kotlin server without coroutines. Even so, loyal viewer David remains unconvinced he can replace Ktor, JetBrains server offering, with HTTP4K, the plucky British underdog. So I decided to take a look at Ktor to understand why. I started by looking at Ktor example code. The one I picked doesn't have good test coverage, so I thought I'd add some. This revealed that the code relies on global variables for state, so in the better yak shaving tradition, I started by fixing that. Looking back, I find it interesting I didn't use the phrase dependency injection at all during filming. Perhaps that's because I'm not using a framework. Perhaps because passing dependencies to constructors is just usual. Whatever the reason, stay tuned to see how to inject dependencies to make an application testable. I'm looking at the project in the Ktor docs, which is creating HTTP APIs. But instead of going through it, I've checked it out. Here it is. So we can look at the end state and try and understand what it's doing. So let's start by running it up. We can run this main. Well, something happened and it started nice and quickly. That's good. And we're provided with, in test, I think, here, a set of HTTP files that we can use to test it by hand. So for example, there's this order test, and we can run that, for example, and see that we get back some orders from somewhere. And customer test, we can post one customer and then another customer, all seems to be working, and then another customer, and then we can get all the customers. What do we have? Yes, that all looks plausible. But looking plausible isn't really enough. We'd like some automated tests, so let's see what we have. There's only one thing in the whole test tree, that's this application test. Let's have a look. Okay, here we are, and you can see we build a test application, and we go and get an order, and we can assert that the body is this JSON here. Well, that's good. Let's run that. And it seems to be fine. I mean, there was some stuff in here that doesn't seem important because we did get a result. Now then, these HTTP files, there is a customer test and an order test, but it is here we've only got a get order test. It would be good to write some tests for the CustomerRoutes. So let's just take a copy of it for now, and we'll put it in here, and we'll call this CustomerRoute tests. Add that. And now we want to call this CustomerRoute tests, and let's just start by asking what's at /customer. Let's run that test. Okay, well, it's failed. And it's failed with missing ID because we had a slash here, I guess, and it was wanting a customer ID. Wonder what happens if I just delete that. Try again. Okay, still failed. But here we are. We were expecting some JSON, but what we've actually got is no customers found. And that, I guess, is the actual behavior. So what we should say in here is that no customers found is our text. Hooray, passing test. It's got a bad name though, so let's rename this as it returns no customers found when there are no customers. I mean, I'm not sure how sensible that actually is, but it's what it does, as we can see. Okay, what's the next thing? We want to add a customer. So let's duplicate this test, and we'll say returns all the customers. Okay, for there to be some customers, we're going to have to add some. And let's not do it through the API. Let's work out where those customers come from. So we'll go to our application. Here it is. And we're starting it somehow. And we've got the application module. Oddly unused. Can we get rid of that? Is that okay? No. All right then, put it back. So there must be some magic happening somewhere. Let's have a look at configure routing. Here we are, customer routing. And this says route customer routing, and here, customer storage is not empty. What's customer storage? And here we are in our models package, and in lieu of a database, we've just got a mutable list of customer. I suppose that's all right. I will lay these out so you can see them. So we should be able to just go to this customer storage, which is global, and change it in our customer route tests. So we know we get nothing if we haven't got anything. Let's go to customer storage and we'll add a customer, and it's given some examples, but bad ones. Let's see what we need. We need an ID, a first name, a last name, and an email. I'm going to take those things, put them into here, and then if I can, we'll say something like that, and then the commas. Now I'm not quite sure how that's going to render, but I could at the very least say that it is not equal to no customers found, as it should have found a customer. Let's try that, and we're good. And now let's just replace this with a blank string so we can see what we actually get. And the answer is, here we go, this bit of JSON here, which is an array by the look of things. So we'll take that and we will put it in here in triple quotes and see if we're good. Splendid. Now let's try get customer by ID. So we can duplicate this and say I want a test that is returns a single customer by ID. So if I add in the customer with ID and I say I want /customer/ID, then I should get back the same thing as before. Now I could fake surprise at this. In particular, I could fake surprise the fact that I've added one test and two have failed, but I did expect it. Let's just have a look at the way they failed. Returned a single customer by ID. Well, that's failed in a proper way because I left in the brackets here for an array, but actually we're only returning a single customer. So we can get rid of that. With luck, we'll only have one failing test then. And here we are, returns all the customers. Why is that failing? Well, here we are. The answer is because we expected a single customer, but we had two customers. And if you've been testing with JUnit for any amount of time, you'll know the reason for that. And it is that in this application, there's only one list of customers. It's this customer storage here. It's initialized once and then shared by all the tests. In our test, though, we were assuming that they were independent, that the customer storage we used here was different than the customer storage we used here. We were lucky, in fact, that we didn't fail the first test, that it actually returned a customer when there were no customers. It just happens that this was the first one that was run. So how are we going to solve that problem? One way we could do it would be to add a before all in here. So we could say at before test. Well, it looks like we're using Kotlin test, but that will do. So we're going to say before test fun clean up customers. And that will say customer storage dot clear. Is that good? Yes, it is. But that will stop us running the tests in parallel. We should be building an application and telling it where the storage is rather than have it suck it out of thin air. So let's not do that and instead work out how to configure an application. I suspect that the application is configured with this module here because when we deleted it, everything went wrong. We look back in our configure routing and then through customer routing, this is the place where we have customer storage, and what we'd like is that we can build a route on top of some customer storage. So in fact, we'd like that we can take this thing and add it as a parameter. There you are, a mutable list of customer. And it means now that we could use a different mutable list of customers in different tests if it wasn't hard-coded here. But that's okay. We can take this and make it a parameter of this. There we go. Quite why it made a mutable list of any, I have no idea, but let's fix that. And that would be fine if it wasn't for the fact that this now uses the global customer storage. But this apparently unused thing must be being called from somewhere, and we need to work out how to get the thing that's calling it from somewhere to use a particular customer storage for us. A little bit of digging reveals that the Ktor app is configured by this application.conf here in source main resources. And if we look in here, you'll see we've got the port it's being deployed on. And also this modules is com example application kt.module, which resolves to this unused function here. So evidently something on startup in this engine main is reading this application conf and deciding that it needs to call this module function here. Now we could just leave that alone and work out what to do in tests, but I think it would be interesting to see the equivalent if we got rid of the application.conf. So if we go to here, select this and ask AI Assistant, we're going to say, how do I start a Ktor server with these parameters, but not using application.conf? Let's try that. Well, potentially a little over verbose, but it gives us a bit of code here. It says your equivalent main is an embedded server with netty with a port, and the module is application module. So let's try that. I'm going to take that and put it into application. And for now, at least, I'm just going to comment that one out. And then import that and that. Put these on separate lines. And now I'm going to try running this, see whether we get anything. Well, yes, that's good. Oh no, that's not good. But I am already running it. So let's kill some applications and try again. Good. Now let's go to application.conf and see whether we can get rid of that. So if I delete this and now restart my server, that's good. And now I'm going to go to customer test and just see whether I can communicate, and it looks like I can. Let's go and get on customer, and there's the one. Splendid. So now I've got somewhere in my code here that references this application.module. It's no longer unused. And I think that means that we could make this a parameter. That will break this, but if we change it to a lambda first, like that, now we can pull this thing as a parameter. Again, it offered mutable list of customer and then substituted mutable list of any. But if we fix that, then I think we should be able to run our application. Good. Now then, what about our customer route tests? Run that, and everything has died. No customers and so on. And let's just have a look, see what we've got. Well, our responses seem to be failing. I suspect that that's because we haven't got a route at all, and that if I put this first there, try that. And yes, indeed, now you see we're getting 404 because we haven't set up any routes. So basically, our application is being started, but nothing is ever calling this application module, so we're not configuring routing, and so we don't have the routes. So I hear you say, how do we configure the application in this test application? And the answer took me a little while to find. This, it turns out, is a DSL, and we can say application in here, and then we can say module, and that module is our application module that we wrote over in the other place. That is to say, this one. So it needs a list of customers. So here we should be able to say customer storage, and that I think might make at least this one test run. And does, good. And now we want to break free of this static state. So let's go up here and we'll say that in every test we've got val my customer storage is a mutable list of customer. And now if I put that into here and here, and repeat that in every one of these blocks, making that my customer storage. And here we want to be running on my customer storage, which will be empty. Now I think we can run all these tests. And we have no crosstalk. Brilliant. Now then, we just got this irritating duplication here that every one of our tests needs this application module, my customer storage. I think we might better fix that if we look to see this is an application test builder to unit is this block. I can't think of a clever way of abstracting this, but what I think I'm going to say is if we had a fun that was test application with that took customer storage, which is a mutable list of customer, and the same type as this, so we go and fetch it from here, suspend block of application test builder, yada yada da. like that. Then we could call this application first, by which I mean ask testApplication to call that block, and then evaluate block in the context of that test application. And I think actually that might be this dot block invoke, like that. And if I'm right, then we can say test application with my customer storage, not do that, and just need to replace that with that for sanity. Does it work once? It does. And so we can use that in other places. So we'll drop that down there like that, reformat, copy that, replace this with that, and again here like that. Good. We can tighten everything up a bit by just moving this thing here, I think, as a field, and we'll call that a customer. Take it up to the top. So we've got some custom storage, we've got a customer, and we can move that out to the top level because it doesn't just now depend on this test. So we take that out of here, go to the end of the file, and put it in there. Good. And before we finish, we're going to have the same trouble, I suspect, in our orders. Let's have a look through orders. We'll go to application, we'll go to routing, the list orders route, the get order route, and the totalize order route. Each one of those uses order storage. So let's do the same thing. We will parameterize that. List orders only needs an immutable list of order, so that's good. This order storage here, again, just immutable, that's good for us. Totalize parameter, also immutable. And do we have anything to create an order? Well, it turns out we don't, so that's fine. Now back, and we've got order storage. Let's pull that up as a parameter. Irritatingly the wrong type, but no problem. I'll do the job for you, IntelliJ. And now if we see who calls this, we've got order storage in here, but again, we want to push that up. Again, the type is wrong. Now our embedded server in main will work because we pushed it up in here, but I suspect our tests won't. So if we run application test, there we go. But now if we go to our customer route tests, we'll see that this has order storage. Drop these onto separate lines, but we want to make this into a parameter of that. We need to move the orders up. Never remember the keystroke. Alt up. Wrong type again. List of order. Refactor that. And now our customer route test looks at order storage, which is this global one, which is a bad place for us. So let's give ourselves my order storage in here. My order storage is a empty list of order because we don't care about orders being the customer route. This should go in there and there, and our application test here wants to call the one that we created, which is test application with, we can give it a mutable list of customers, and we need to give it the actual, for now at least, order storage. Fix that. We didn't need to tell it, and let's run this test. Splendid. And now finally, I think we really should decouple this test from this, which is really production data. So let's go to order storage and let's copy that, and we can put that into the order route test. Rename it to remember that it's not the production one, and now we can see we're only getting the 01 one, so we can in fact take this one, I think, away. Good. Wafer thin reformat. Let's go and run all the tests just in case. 4 of them, splendid, and let's check in with remove global state, at least as far as tests are concerned. Okay then, we're all busy people, so I haven't bothered you with the refactor. What I've done is I've added more tests. So for example, return to 404 when no customer is found, deletes a customer by ID, etc. So now the customer route is pretty well tested. And I've also removed customer storage as a global variable. And that means that application here, when you start up main, we create a list of customers and we create a list of orders and we pass them directly into the module. So now we don't have any confusion about my customer storage or customer storage, and customer route tests can just say, these are my customers and these are my orders. I think that will do for today. Now we've got a tested application and I'm interested in what it would look like implemented with HTTP 4K rather than Ktor. So next week I'm going to try and refactor, see how far we get. If you'd like to see that, then please subscribe to the channel. Like this video so I know it's the sort of thing that you want to see more of. And you can fund my work by buying a copy of the book that I wrote in that price called Java to Kotlin, a Refactoring Guidebook, details of which are in the show notes below. Thanks for watching.